go. I was going to distract you the whole time.
Thank you for being here. It's nice to see so many other alumni. And as you know, our parish is really comprised of so many families, multi-generational families, not just second and third, but we actually have 4 generations of families within our community that are actively involved. We've got the Bansleys, we've got the Blouse, we've got the Colemans, the Murphys, the Stanleys, and there's many other families that are moving out of that 4th generation. So our parish is really built up upon these strong parishioners and that family unit, and that really makes our parish so unique. And we are ready at all stages to overcome adversity and challenges. And the most recent challenge that I think that everyone's most aware of was the Renew My Church process. As you may remember, just a few years ago, we stood here, and there was fear of us being merged with or absorbed by St. Barnabas. And we worked through that process. And through that process, Bishop Larry came up with this amazing, thoughtful, strategic, substantive plan to not just work with St. Barnabas, but to work with St. John Fisher and St. Cadget. And it wasn't just some sort of smoke screen because the Archdiocese wouldn't allow us to do that. But he came up with a substantive plan. We were able to persuade the Archdiocese to remain autonomous while working simultaneously with those other parishes. And as a result of that, the architecture from Bishop Larry resulted in the Southside Parish Renewal Program, which we have today. Now, the structure behind that, just based upon mandatory retirement ages, was Bishop Larry was going to be the anchor, and he ultimately was going to be the pastor of all 4 parishes. And he screwed it up by becoming bishop. And he screwed it up even further by becoming vicar general. So now we're in a transition again. And we were going to be in that transition a couple of years from now. We're here today, now. And we're facing these challenges. But it's not, I want you to modify your mindset from a challenge to an opportunity. Because during that Renew My Church process, although some people may have said that it wasn't necessarily a new idea of coming together with this multi-parish community, it was a leading example of what Christ the King can do. We set that example, we persuaded the Archdiocese, and it was Bishop Larry's architecture behind that allowed us to remain autonomous and independent. And so as we transition now, we have an opportunity to really draft the next chapter of our parish. And it requires everyone. But fundamentally, Bishop Larry, as he's transitioning, he's worked so diligently and hard for the last 11 years. He's fostered our community. He's fostered all these various ministries that we're going to talk about tonight. He's the architect behind this organizational structure, which allows our lay leadership to really not just continue, but to continue to thrive. And so we are greatly appreciative of Bishop Larry to put together this organizational structure. And as we transition, it's because of this organizational structure that it's allowed us to continue to succeed in the future. So please welcome Bishop Larry.
Thank you. Quite a few people have already pointed out that you said goodbye to me on Sunday, and you just can't get rid of me, so why am back? I don't know. No, the reason I'm here today is because I just love this community, and I've said that time and time again. There's no better parish in the Archdiocese of Chicago, no better community that really cares about the relationship with the Lord, the relationship with others, and also, of course, taking care of the needs of those who are less fortunate than we are. And when I think about this community, it is such a special place. We've all worked very hard to make sure that we're setting the parish up for what success looks like in the future. And in order for us to look at what success looks like in the future, we have to understand that it doesn't look like what success was in the past. I got a group of photos actually from Ed and Jan earlier today. They were just kind of sending me some pictures of my early days here, and I responded back, who is the priest with the black hair? You know, and I've been here 11 years. I actually consider myself to be young. I look in the mirror, I see this very young guy. I know that's not true. I've been a priest now for 33 years. And in that 33 years, the structure of the parishes in the Church of Chicago is just drastically changed. When I arrived at St. Celestine Parish, I was the third priest. I was the second associate. We had two well-trained, incredibly talented pastoral associates, Sister Jean and Mary Jo. There were two people who helped us. So there were 5 full-time ministers, and that's not even including the principal of the school, the person who is responsible for ministry to care, and all of those other things. 33 years later, you just don't see those kind of staffing levels. The staff here at Christ the King is smaller now than when I arrived 33 years ago. And we just had a meeting with the foundation. We were talking about the finances and talking about what's the way to ensure the future of our church, our school, really, our school, from a financial standpoint. But none of that really matters if we don't have the engagement in the faith life. We are a community of faith first and foremost, and we have to look at ways that we can move that forward. How we can go forward. We're going to do that by making sure that there's real ownership at the parish level by you. We cannot depend upon paid staff or professional ministers like we once had. If we're going to succeed and thrive in the future, it's going to be because of your willingness to step up to the plate and say, we want this parish, we want our faith to continue from one generation to the next. Now, we could look at that as the glass is half full and say, well, we don't have enough priests, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources for that professional staff, therefore we have to have lay leadership. I think that's a terrible way of looking at it. The way that I would prefer to look at it is the lack of resources means that now all of us have the opportunity to really do the things that God is asking of us and for us to live out our baptismal promises. As the Vicar General of the Archdiocese, I've really gotten a look at all of the behind the scenes, the interactions of the way that the diocese works, the things that they focus on, and the priorities. And the priority really is focusing on helping people grow closer to the Lord, helping people grow in their faith. And that's going to look different in a lot of different ways. It's going to be your responsibility to determine what is that going to look like. It's going to be the parish's responsibility to make sure that you have the tools that you need. So everything we're talking about is about giving you the structure and the tools that allows you to shape the parish in the way that you want it to be shaped. It's not going to be us having a bar of gold and convincing you to take the bar of gold, and we have all of the answers, and you just ask me how to live your life, and I'll tell you, and then you'll all be very happy. It doesn't work that way. You have the bar of gold, and it's our job to help you discover that bar of gold that you already have, and it's our job to help you make sure that you put those gifts to use. So when I say our, I mean that from me at the Archdiocesan level. We do not have enough priests. Every time that the priest placement board gets together, as we're being asked to make bricks without straw, that's right out of the Old Testament, the book of Exodus. Pharaoh was angry at the Israelites and said, well, you have to continue to make bricks, but we're not going to give you straw. We're being asked to fill spots with nobody to fill them. So we have a problem. The plus side of that problem is we are in a position now where real leadership, real decision-making ability, real ownership is going to be given to all of you. And there's no doubt in my mind that you are up to the task. In light of not having enough priests to go to all of the parishes, Christ the King isn't going to have a pastor next year. You're going to have an administrator. The difference between an administrator and a pastor is the pastor has a set term, normally 6 years with a renewable 6th. The administrator is really supposed to keep the parish running as is, following your guidance, until a pastor is named. And that means we're going to have an entire year to work, and I do hope to be a part of the process to figure out how do we work out like the nuts and the bolts, how do we work out the kinks, how do we get this to be smooth sailing so that when Bishop Mark then probably becomes a pastor somewhere else, or he could be an ordinary, he could be named a bishop of a diocese somewhere else. Two of our auxiliaries were just named archbishops. One, the Archbishop of Milwaukee, and one, the Archbishop of Cincinnati. So Bishop Mark could find himself being named the bishop of a diocese or an archdiocese. So this is just a temporary solution, but it's a temporary solution that really allows us to do all the things we need to do to work out all of the different structural issues. So the school is obviously an extremely important ministry and mission of the parish, and they're undergoing some changes as well. I just wanted to talk about how we got to the point where we're at, what that means in terms of handing the reins over to members of the pastoral council, the finance committee, the parish, to really give real ownership, and then to talk a little bit about Bishop Mark. He's going to be here for a year. So with that in mind, I know everybody's extremely very concerned about the school. We'll explain more about the pastoral mission that we've been talking about, but first I'm going to hand the microphone over to Dr. Anne Marie.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. Bishop Mark Bartosik, who will be taking over as the administrator, cannot be with us tonight, but he has a letter that I have the honor of sharing with you that I'm going to read. Dear leadership and parishioners of Christ the King, greetings to you all, and thanks for coming to the parish meeting tonight. I'd be with you, but I'm grabbing 2 weeks vacation before returning to Chicago on July 8th. Before he became Pope Leo, Cardinal Robert Prevost said this: our first task is to teach what it means to know Jesus Christ and to bear witness to our closeness to the Lord. This comes first, to communicate the beauty of the faith, the beauty and joy of knowing Jesus. It means that we ourselves are living it and sharing this experience. There's a lot in those 52 words, and I look forward to discovering and living it with you. By way of further introduction, you should know about St. Francis of Rome and Cicero, where I became pastor in 2001. Eventually, a pretty good leadership team came together. So good, in fact, that in 2009, we offered to take on, as a team, the leadership of another nearby parish, Our Lady of Charity. Together, we led both parishes and schools until 2016. Collaboration with lay professionals was the hallmark of those 7 years. I'm committed to the idea that all of us, clergy and lay, have specific gifts that are essential to the life of a healthy parish. The current moment requires of us a prayerful discernment of those gifts and generosity in engaging them for the good of this community. The work of the Pastoral Council has undertaken under the leadership of Bishop Sullivan puts Christ the King in squarely on the road into which I believe parishes need to travel. It's an exciting place to be. You're all in my prayers for a fruitful gathering tonight. I'll see you in July. Bishop Mark A. Bartosik. So he will be here officially on July 8th. He will be saying masses here and will become a more familiar face. Again, as Bishop Larry said, he will have other responsibilities, but he will be a steady presence in this interim time. But we have, the parish staff had the pleasure of meeting Bishop Bartosik. We were very impressed by his really warm and welcoming demeanor, very calming, and very supportive, very wise, you could tell from his experience, and really is here to support us as we write this next chapter. So we look forward to meeting him all in person in a few weeks. As Bishop Sullivan said, we also are having a transition in the school. As of Monday, June 30th, I will be ending my 11-year tenure as principal of Christ the King, which has been the biggest honor of my career to serve as the principal of this community. As you can see, I'm part of the pastoral council, so I am not going far away. I will be very involved just in different capacities, and I look forward to that. And I have the pleasure of introducing CK's next principal, who we are very excited for you to meet and welcome, Mr. Jay Rinn.
By speaking for too long, so I promise to keep it short. But it is wonderful to be here with everyone. I know full well how important CK School is to the parish, how much everyone here cares about the school, whether you have kids currently in the school, you may have kids in the school, or you might have had kids and grandkids in the school. I know it's really essential to the energy of the parish, the sacramental life of the parish, the ministries that we run. And I am deeply honored to be continuing the work of Dr. Reardon, and I'm excited in the coming weeks, I officially start next week, to begin putting names to faces, hopefully for not too long being the new guy around here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome to Christ the King, and we look forward to working with you. Slow. All right, so this is the mastermind of our architect, Bishop Larry. I also kind of feel like Tom Skilling here. I've got some low pressure over here on the right in the east, and I've got some really high winds and high temperatures over in the southwest. But this is an impressive organizational structure that Father Larry has really been cultivating for the last 11 years. And while this is really the first time you've seen it in a formal setting, you can see all the various different institutional structures, from the school to the religious education, to the parish office, to the maintenance, human resources, finance council, as well as the pastoral council, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Under the pastoral council, we have really almost 45, or at least 45 different robust different ministries. And those ministries range from prayer services to, prayer ministries to service ministries and community building. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with them. You make up those ministries. And it's really because of those ministries, it plays such an integral role when we were trying to persuade the Archdiocese that we wanted to remain independent and to work with us, with Bishop Larry's program, and what we were trying to do with the Southside Parish Renewal. But it was the ministries themselves to let everyone know that Christ the King, while small and mighty, is really flourishing with these ministries that are robust. And when Bishop Bartosek, it's my understanding, when Bishop Bartosek was considering coming to be the administrator, he saw this and he was very impressed. That as Bishop Larry is transitioning, he's not just exiting. What he's doing is for the last 11 years, he's been cultivating, he's been supporting, he's been fostering our community, all of us. And as we're going to continue to talk about tonight, it's because of that we have this amazing organizational structure. Just below that administrator, as Dr. Reardon had talked about, and Bishop Larry talked about, Bishop Bartosek is really just going to be here to support us. But one of the persuasive ideas behind Bishop Bartosek coming was to strengthen the ministries and this organizational structure that Bishop Larry created. At the top, we've got this Director of Operations. You may have met him before, but this is a formal introduction. I'd like to welcome Bob Davis as our Director of Operations.
Thank you. So, like Mark said, a lot of you may know me, but probably most of you don't. So, by way of introduction, I've been living in Evergreen Park for 30 years with my wife. Currently, my youngest, Ellen, is also with us, but she also has two older siblings, my son Sean and my daughter Kate, who are out on their own conquering the world. So, but I wanted to talk about this chart, because as you look at it, most of the green that you'll see in the center, human resources, maintenance, parish office, those are the things that I've been doing for the last 14 and a half months already. And those are the things that I'll be continuing to do. And during that time, I've reported directly to Bishop Sullivan, but also in partnership with Dr. Reardon at the school, as the school principal, and also finance council, Molly Vanderbilt, the chair. And so that's not going to change. And that's just one of the many focuses that I've had to work on in these last 14 and a half months. Now, as I look at this chart now, you'll see there's a lot of dotted lines and straight lines that depict mutual reporting on the bottom left and responsible to. That's kind of not what I'm seeing myself. I see this as Mark and Bishop Larry have said, an opportunity. It just means that there are so many more people to talk to, so many more people to listen to, more importantly. So I understand what your needs are and the resource that I can become to you all. And that's kind of my objective moving forward. It has always been my objective since I took this job to better serve, not better serve, but to serve Christ the King. And I have to tell you, in my short tenure here, I've been nothing but impressed. The generosity that just permeates the whole community is really something that I've conveyed to Bishop that I want to be a part of. And everyone I meet just has a commitment. It's CK, and it's really something to behold. And so I appreciate your welcoming into this role. But I also see this, again, as not only opportunity, but more importantly, accountability to you all. So I will be, or try to be, as much as I can, a resource to you all. Vow to be a good listener, an open door policy, not all at once, hopefully. But that's kind of how I see this. So there will be times where the focus will be on other areas, but it's all been good so far, and I expect nothing more, but to hopefully help build upon what you all have built here already, and further the legacy that is here and the opportunity to step from that. But I do want to share one story. So yesterday I was walking the campus, and this woman was coming down alongside, and it was inevitable that we would meet, so I introduced myself, and she said, "Oh, you're the guy in charge now, aren't you?" And I said, I had to laugh, and I said, "No, that's really not the way I'm kind of looking at things. I'm a resource to you. I'm happy to meet you." We talked for about 4 or 5 more minutes, and she was a very pleasant woman. But that's kind of what I want to offer myself up to you all. I'm a resource. We'll need to communicate more regularly. That's an opportunity as far as I'm concerned. And so with that said, I just want to say I'm happy to be here. I feel very lucky to be in this position that you all have entrusted to me. And I look forward to seeing more and more and meeting more and more of you. So with that said, I'll pass it off to Tim.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a bit of inside baseball in terms of the way that the business manager role is developed. When I was a new priest in St. Celestine, we had a business manager, Dorothy, and Dorothy was very good about watching every single little penny. She could just be brutal if anything was kind of off, question or anything. She really had a great control over all things that was happening, scheduled space, all that kind of stuff. Dorothy was really a secretary of the religious education program who showed kind of like an aptitude. She had a sense of business. She was able to keep things organized. There was a lot of structure in place. And a lot of times when people think of business managers, they think of that Dorothy-like figure who basically kind of ran the parish. They were the gatekeeper to the pastor. They said you could have space. They said you could have hot dogs. You can't. They just like kind of micromanage everything. What we realized is that we had people who were incredibly generous, dedicated, faithful people, but they didn't really have real business acumen. And so since parishes couldn't really afford a true business manager, they ended up hiring a business manager who would work part-time. And that here in our parish was Joe Dillon. Joe had 3 parishes that he helped out. That was a way of getting somebody with a high degree of talent, but that they could still make the same salary that they would be making in out of the professional kind of like real world. That didn't work in the sense that we had somebody who was very gifted, very talented, but it was always being pulled in a million different directions, and didn't always have the amount of time to do the human resources, answer the questions that the teachers might have. They would go after insurance money. They brought a lot of gifts because the different parishes would all have the same problem at a different time. So once they solved the problem, say in St. Linus, and then we had the problem here in Christ the King or St. Christina, you say, oh, I know what to do, I would handle it. But now we're in a position where we don't need the business managers of the past, but really a director of operations. And the director of operations job isn't to micromanage, but it's to be the coordinator. You are the ones who really are going to be in charge under the vision, the guidance of the administrator or the pastor. The pastor sets the vision, that's what I've done, but it's in context with the way people want. But Bob is going to really serve as the facilitator. He's going to serve as the person who knows which direction to point you in. He's not going to be the person who says thumbs up or thumbs down, yes or no, you can have it, you can. It's not his job. His job is to make sure that he's meeting the vision of the pastoral council. He's working in collaboration with the finance committee. He's doing the connections. When I first arrived at Christ the King, Maura and I would sit down and talk about, all right, what do we want to do? How do we want to meet the needs of the senior citizens? Or so we go on those bus trips, we do different things. It was all of us kind of creating that. And then, of course, Maura had to do all the work and line everything up. But what happened after people started to see the things that were happening, now they come to me and say, we want to have chess after church, or we want to have a women's group, or we want to have a women ministry group, or we might want to have family-friendly stations of the cross. It was my job to say, okay, if you want to have the men's club, which we did, the women's club, the different things, I would give kind of like my advice, my wisdom, I would help them out, and then they take the ball and run with it. Same thing with this faith formation stuff. Joan O'Connor would often come up with these ideas. I was always saying, take the ball, run with it, go with it. These are your ideas. Without me being here kind of present, I was the one who made the connections. And Bishop Bartosik's not going to have that same ability. First of all, because I know what it's like to be bigger, and secondly, he doesn't have the 11 years of experience. And so people are going to go to Bob and say, Bob, I want to offer this, I want to do this, I want to start this. And he'd say, oh, I'm the person on the pastoral council, they're the one that you should talk to, they're going to help you get that started. Or, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, let's form this one together, let's talk about communication. So Bob is going to be the facilitator of all of those things that are taking place. And the pastoral counselor is going to be asking, is there enough service going on? Are there enough prayer opportunities going on? And if not, how we can bolster them? Is there enough community building going on? If not, how do we bolster that? So I really want you to see Bob as an incredibly important figure, not because he's running things, but because he's going to be the person that gives you the resources that you need, and he's going to be able to make the connections that will make it all work. And so I'm very, very grateful to Bob. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Duty, and on behalf of the Pastoral Council, I would like to thank all of you for coming here tonight. Shortly after Father Larry was installed as pastor here, after Mass one Sunday, he grabbed me back to church and pulled me aside, and he asked me if I'd be interested in joining this new committee he's forming. And in true CK fashion, he told me there wasn't really a lot of work to do, you just had to go to a couple meetings. Well, it turns out that meeting, or that committee he was forming was the parish council. And essentially he used it to bounce ideas off us. Father Larry, or Bishop Larry, has always marveled at Christ the King, in our independence, in our strong sense of faith. But at the same time, he's always flustered in what I'll call the lack of great turnout at masses. So he had a solution, and his solution was to get the word out, to make sure everyone knew that everybody was welcoming a Christ the King. And the way he did it was through these ministries. He bolstered existing ministries like St. Vincent de Paul, and he created these new ministries like Fiat Lux and Women in Ministry. And the idea was it'll allow more people to practice their faith and therefore strengthen Christ the King. Now, we all love Bishop Larry, and we know he's been a hands-on pastor these last 11 years. And we also know his loss is going to create, or his departure, I should say, is going to create a big void. Now, to fill that void, he asked your pastoral council to essentially carry on the legacy that he created through these ministries, as he just touched on. And to that end, I would like to take this moment to introduce, or maybe I should say reintroduce you to your pastoral council members. First, we have our fearless leader, Tom Fahey. Next, we have Tom Gorman, Morris Sass, Mark Sass, Dr. Reardon, Molly Vanderbilt, David Dunn, Lisa Franco, and Aaron Ross. And Mark Singer. And there's actually a couple other members that couldn't make it here tonight. And that's John Dunn and Pat Stanton. So we would, and Barb Bader, who's in the band. Incidentally, in following up through CK fashion, since Pat Stanton and John Dunn couldn't be here tonight, we'd ask that all complaints be directed to them. And you will find our full information, including bios, on our webpage. Right? So, now at first blush, when you look at that chart that was up there before, as I said, Bishop Larry charged us with carrying on these ministries. It was a daunting task. Okay? So we broke it down into three main areas, and there's prayer ministries, service ministries, and community building. And with that, again, there's a lot of overlap. So consequently, we will be a point person or liaison for each of those areas that will help coordinate and facilitate events throughout the year. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Lisa Franco, who will be our prayer ministry liaison.
Okay, so I am the new liaison for the prayer ministries. I've been a parishioner here for about 25 years now. I've had 2 children go through CK, both graduated and doing their own thing now. But I'm happy to be here. I love this parish, and I'm glad we're doing what I'm doing with the parish council, and I'm happy to help any way I can. I'm very grateful to Bishop Larry. So I'm the liaison for prayer ministries. So just to give you a little scenario of what the prayer ministries are. Here at CK, the prayer ministries seek to deepen the faith life of our parish community by fostering a vibrant and prayerful relationship with God. Rooted in the teachings of Jesus and guided by the Holy Spirit, we support and develop opportunities for spiritual growth through liturgy, prayer, faith formation, and retreat. Our mission is to cultivate a spirit of holiness, discernment, and discipleship, helping every parishioner to grow in their personal journey of faith and to live out the gospel in daily life. We recognize that the strength of one's faith is not a constant. It ebbs and flows. We will meet, support, and welcome our parishioners wherever they are in their faith journey. So this is a list of the current prayer ministries. Oh, back, can we go back to look at the pictures, please. So this is the list of our current prayer ministries. Just to give you a few examples, I got Our Lady of Guadalupe is a prayer ministry that celebrates the festival feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe every December 12th. That was something that Larry allowed us to do, and it's been a huge success. And it's a wonderful way to renew culture in our parish. Women in Ministry has been a huge success also, having women of our parish do Matthews quarterly throughout the year with all women leading the masses, including saying the gospel. The Adult Faith Formation has been around. We've kind of put it into one big category. Joan O'Connor has been huge in getting this organized for us. In fact, she's stepping down as a contact person, which will be quite involved in some of the other subgroups of the Adult Faith Formation, and Christy Kovar will be our new contact person for Adult Faith Formation. But Joan, thank you for all you've done so far for our Adult Faith Formation. And it's gotten so big that we've got several subgroups in there now that are still strong, going strong. So that's just a minor, like a small look at what we're doing. You can show pictures now. And our next speaker will be Maura to talk about our service ministries.
Thank you again. I am Maura Sass, and I am one of 2 liaisons for the service ministries. Pat Stanton is the other one. He was unable to be here tonight. Much like Lisa read the mission statement for the prayer ministries, there is one also for the service ministries. So the CK service ministries are rooted in the gospel's call to love and serve one another as Christ loves us. We are dedicated to being the hands and feet of Jesus by compassionately responding to the needs of the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized. Through prayerful action, faithful stewardship, and a spirit of humility, we strive to build a more just and loving world, guided by the teachings of the Catholic Church and empowered by the Holy Spirit. CK offers parishioners of all ages opportunities to share their time and talents with those in need, both inside and outside of our community. We are committed to expanding our impact through working together and with other parishes in the Southside Parish Renewal. So Pat and I are certainly here, again, as a support, much like Lisa had mentioned. We're not here to dictate or to run any of the ministries. We're just here to support and make sure that they continue to flourish. We're basically here to introduce ourselves so that you know who to talk to. The parish staff is small. Bishop Bartosik is not going to be, certainly as we have been hearing, not certainly as present as Bishop Larry has been, but reach out to Pat or myself if you're interested in the service ministry. As we were going through and kind of confirming some of the ministries that we have already, you know, our large ones, St. Vincent de Paul and our Fiat Lux, but we have a whole host of ones. Some are smaller, some are medium-sized. I was talking to Pat Coffey of our Gardening Angels, and she's like, give a plug. We would love more youth in their ministry. So if you have any questions, you know who to turn to, Pat or myself, and our names and email addresses will be on the website, and we are going to start to publish that in the bulletin as well. So next up is our very large Ministry of Community Building, and our liaisons there are Jackie Dunn and Barb Gaynor.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dunn. Barb Gaynor should be up here with me, but we're letting her sit in the back. She didn't do her homework, maybe. I am one of the liaisons for the Community Building Ministry Committee. Obviously, there are a lot of them there. We took the time to craft these mission statements, which Lisa and Maura read for theirs, and I'm going to read for mine. They'll be available on the website, in part so that you know where something falls, and in part so that we could know where something fell as we were dividing up the pie for accountability. So the mission statement for the community building is as follows. Christ the King seeks to practice radical hospitality to ensure that all are welcome is not just a mantra, but a way of life. CK's Community Building Ministries Committee strives to maintain a culture where everyone can feel accepted, valued, and seen, and where anyone and everyone can find or build a meaningful, faith-filled community experience. To this end, Pastoral Council liaisons, right now myself and Barb Gaynor, shall support existing ministries, assist with the implementation of parishioners' ideas for new initiatives, and attempt to proactively identify and fill gaps or holes in our community's social fabric. Jesus said, "Where two or more are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." CK commits to providing opportunities for our faith community to gather, socialize, and engage to experience Christ in our midst in fun, joyful, and meaningful ways. So just to unpack that a little bit. Supporting existing ministries, we have so many of them. And they're all firing on all cylinders. They're all run by somebody other than myself and Barb Gaynor for the most part. Our job is just to make sure that continues. If people need help, if somebody needs to step down, our job will be to help them keep the ministry operating. Assist with implementing new ideas. It's been mentioned already. We are not gatekeepers. We're not here to say yes or no. We're just here to say, is that already happening? Maybe we can combine things, or how can we help you get that off the ground? Identifying gaps. This is, to me, the biggest obstacle, because we had Father Larry before, always on campus walking around, finding the gaps. He knew everything, and he could arm twist anybody into saying yes to run something else, right? And he saw the need right away. It's going to be harder for us to do that, but we're committed to trying to do that. So how will we do that? Frequent communication, right? We're going to be meeting with Bob more than he wants. The liaisons are going to be meeting. Pastoral Council is going to be meeting. If you want to meet, come on by. That it's the commitment that we're making to try to keep everything running smoothly and, keep the parish thriving. The last thing I want to say is with the divisions, they're imperfect, right? I wanted to claim Our Lady of Guadalupe because I think that is a very big community building event. I love it. It exposes our community to Mexican tradition that I had never been exposed to. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. The school kids are involved. There's a mariachi band, a great feast afterwards. They're praying the rosary in the days leading up to the Feast of Our Lady, which is obviously prayerful, and the Mass is prayerful, but it is a huge community building activity. The whole point of the divisions, like I said, is just to make sure that there's one set of liaisons accountable, so you know who to go to. So if you're, if it's imperfect, that's fine. At least we know somebody has eyes on it. I think that's it for me. Community building. We're really good at this one. Yeah. And now Tom Fahey.
Hey everybody, I'm your last speaker, so we will be wrapping up soon. And before I forget, the community building's first official function takes place tonight at Baracos after this event, so anybody. It's cash bar, I'm afraid. We don't have a budget for it yet, but I hope to see somebody out there. And also, the Pastoral Council will mingle here a little bit. We're not going to take questions tonight, but if anybody wants to chat about anything, we'll be here or up on 95th Street. So right in the next chapter, we talked about the title being the next chapter, but that's to pass up. The next chapter isn't going to happen to us in Christ the King. It's going to be what we write to make it happen. And we do have some very significant circumstances that we find ourselves in. First Pastoral Council meeting we had, when we were talking about this new structure and Bishop Larry was, downtown hobnobbing around with archdiocesan types. We're sitting there alone in the basement of the Recreation. I don't quote gospel stories a lot, but I was struck by the fact that we were much like the apostles after Christ had died and resurrected, and looking around and thinking of the anxiety, the sense of what do we do now, and where do we go from here without our leader? Now, the analogy only goes so far, especially with the Jesus and Larry thing. It isn't quite the same. And also, I want to be clear, we appreciate the fact that we have some great clergy still with us here at Christ the King, and with Bishop Mark to join us. So we're not completely orphaned, but let's not kid ourselves. This is a new age for the church. So let's talk a little bit about this new model and the challenges, opportunities it presents, and how we're going to measure our success. Number one challenge, of course, is our engagement. This has been a very top-down church for centuries, and it remains that in many respects. But we were able to all be a little bit passive because we knew that we had a pastor, in our case, Bishop Larry, who pretty much ran things and was there for everybody. Again, I'm not going to minimize, and we don't know yet how visible Bishop Mark would be, but I think it's safe to assume, and whether it's Bishop Mark or the pastor we get after that, the ability to count upon strong clergy presence doing everything with their fingers in every pot is a lapsing concept. So the engagement that we all bring to the table is more critical than ever. Thrilled to see a good audience here tonight, and thank you for coming. It'd be great to have standing room only, and we all know that that's hard to do in today's life with people's schedules and this conflict, that conflict. But please leave here tonight thinking about the engagement level that we're going to need to make this model successful. We're, of course, dealing with a church in transition. We could have several town halls to talk about our church and its challenges. Obviously, we had some good news recently with the new Pope. The only thing that would have been better had he been born at 92nd and Bell and went to Christ the King School. But we did very well. So hopefully people, and especially people from the south side of Chicago, are feeling great hope around our new Pope. But we know that we're undertaking this model. We're stepping into this new church with a real challenge to get people back into church, to practice their faith, to participate actively in these ministries. We're doing it in a little bit of a roll the boulder up the hill. We understand that. We think we can meet that challenge, but I think we all have to be realistic about it. The new model relies on us. This is sort of like the engagement point, but we can't pass the buck here. We can't assume, Larry's going to take care of that, or the office staff will take care of this, or Bob will take care of it. This is going to work only if we make it work, and our neighbors who aren't with us here tonight help come back to us, come back to active participation in parish life. It's a challenge for every one of us with our busy lives. We in the Pastoral Council welcome you to help us with that challenge. Our credibility, when I say that, I mean, when you wear a collar, there's a certain panache that comes. We don't have a collar on tonight. A panache comes with it, right? Your leader has been trained, dedicated his life to the leadership, to the Lord. We're just a bunch of jamokes. And what kind of credibility do I have to stand up here and talk to you? What kind of credibility will all of us bring to the table? And the twin cousin, or the twin sister, if you will, credibility is cynicism. We just are all a little bit naturally cynical when it comes to matters and people, and we all need to work to overcome that. We need to have patience with each other. we need to be willing to see the Spirit, the Lord's work in each other, because we don't have it coming from up here in terms of preaching and guidance. We're going to have to see it, see great credibility and the Lord in each other as we move forward. The clue factor has been alluded to, and it's sort of related to these others, but everything ran through Larry. And it was an extraordinary talent that he brought to us in terms of having his fingers on everything at the school, and the parish, and the ministries. We're not going to have that now. And this one, among all of these, concerns me maybe the most, and I think one of our speakers alluded to it. Where are we going to find the clue? You know, who do I go to? I can't go to Larry now and ask the question. Josie, you know, we can only talk Josie so much. Bob will be there, and I think it's a great role for Bob, and I think Larry made that point well. But we're going to have to be glue for each other. We're going to have to be present. We're going to have to show up, and we're going to have to communicate so that the adhesion remains in our parish, because at the end of the day, it's such a critical factor. And communication is a challenge, especially now with the new model. We're going to have a lot of conversations going on, a lot of ministries, again, without a central figure like we've always had. We are going to update all the websites, school, parish foundation. We're going to make that investment. And just ask everybody to be very communicative with each other as we move forward, because it really is a key. You do much better, Tom. We also see great opportunities here, and I'm not just doing like a glass half full thing. And Larry alluded to it as well. I mean, there is something about being much more lay run and with engaged parishioners, not just looking passively at their pastor for leadership. That is just truly exciting, and I think that is the prevailing message we're trying to convey. First of all, we have momentum, and we have strength, and I don't just say that casually. Christ the King, we probably take it for granted, but the more parishes you see and the more anecdotes you hear, there are parishes in big trouble, not only with their mass numbers, although that's a big symbol of it, but their ministries are dead. They don't have a pastoral council. They've lost their core, if you will. We have got a lot of momentum, and all right, one last time, give Larry credit. But he's just been working on this for 11 years. I mean, our ministries were not nearly as robust before he came. We've got that momentum. We need to take advantage of it with this new model. We can help shape the parish. I mean, we've always been the parish. It's never more true than now. And you can't sit back and complain that, oh, this or that priest is way too dominant, or, you know, we've all had our pastors in the past. We don't have to go there. We are rather unencumbered, if you will, in terms of the parish we want to make this. As people of God living in the same community and really making this place special. We can become a model for others. I think to some extent we already are. This model we're talking about tonight, where lay folks, between Bob, Pastoral Council, all of you, without strong direction and leadership and visibility at the top in terms of the pastor, this is going to be the model. I mean, I don't think you have to be a great mathematician to figure that out. And CK will be on the very front end of that model. And I know Bishop Bartosik coming in is all about this as well. So we can be held up as a real model of something if we can do this and when we do this well. Sort of at the granular level, I think this is really going to allow us to become better people, more spiritual people, better Catholics, as we engage. The rubber meets the road as we get together in ministries, at social events, and know that we're charged with this rather sublime notion of creating a model parish and seeing the Lord work in each other. It's just very energizing, and all of you who have, I know, are participatory in the different ministries, you know what I'm talking about when you see the person across the table and the person you're packing lunches with. That will be the pervasive feeling, hopefully, and we lift each other up in that spirituality. This will be a moment that CK meets the challenge once again. You look at our history from the Parish Center to the Foundation to CK 2050. We have met extraordinary challenges all the way through the recent history of the last 30 years. This is a new one, it's a big one, and I have every confidence we're going to meet it again. How are we going to know it in a year, 2 years, 3 years if we're successful? Our ministries will be robust. Our pews will be filled. Our neighbors who haven't been here in a while will have returned, both in church and in the ministries we offer. And we especially will know we've succeeded when you hear the refrain from corner to corner of the neighborhood.